pop in a little bit and have a conversation, see how everything is going, have a few things in the hopper. Let me know if the sound is coming through okay and if everything is good. I would appreciate it. Should have everything up on my end at least. So let's see what we've got going on. A couple of really exciting things with the channel right now. I'm getting in a lot of devices and a lot of different things coming in. So, for example, I had mentioned and I posted earlier today, I received the Palma. So I have the Boox Palma 2 Pro, and that's this device right here. So I have this currently in my hands, came earlier today, and interesting little device. As most of you know, I'm not much of one for big devices or for small devices. I'm usually that 10.3 inch and higher. Although with some of the changes with the Nomad, I'm thinking about jumping with the digest on the Supernote. I'm thinking about jumping back in to test out the Nomad some more. But overall, I'm for those bigger, devices. It's just more of my sweet spot, more of my comfort zone, and it's something I really enjoy. However, this little device does have me intrigued, and it is an interesting, form factor and footprint, and I'm not hating it so far. I've had it for just a few hours. I've done some early drawings and sketching on it or early writing on it, and it's just interesting. So pretty cool. We'll see what comes of it. It took me a while to figure out how to get the stylus to work. Of course, it's an active stylus, so it has to charge. But definitely interested in your thoughts. So I have this. A couple of things we can talk about with it. Early impressions. I unboxed it. I filmed that part, and I'm starting to film some of the first impressions pieces. So we'll get that on there as well. But fire in any questions you have, anything going on, and let me know what you'd like to talk about as far as this device. Also, yesterday, or maybe the day before, trying to keep all this straight, I received the Note Air 5C. So I have that up and running. Uh, I'm still working on getting everything set, but also filmed the unboxing piece of that. It's a device I'm really interested in from just the regular writing feel, what it improves over the 4C. You'll notice this is what the writing looks like when I pull it out from the Palma. So this is a note that was synced to the Palma. It makes it huge. So that's interesting, but it does work between the two devices. So this is the same note on the Palma and what that presents like on the Air 5C. So let's see here. We've got uh, Parmesan, kicked in. Let me see if I can get this to show. I think I may get one. I like the idea of having my notes from larger devices available on the go for referencing and quick edits. Yeah, I mean, it does have a compelling, uh, use case if you are in that multiple device ecosystem. Had a really interesting conversation with Melissa when I first got it, and she was just asking me to explain who it might be for, what it might be used for, and her and I were both struggling with some use cases for it's not a phone, but it could be a phone, but it's not a phone. And I think that may be the biggest miss of it is the fact that it's data only. And if you're wanting to use it primarily as a reader, then why not just buy a reader? If you're wanting to use it primarily as a writing tool, then why not buy something that's really good at note taking? And so I think it's going to be an interesting use case. The form factor itself is really cool. I can talk about a few of the things that I've noticed that are kind of a miss from a case perspective. One of the biggest glaring ones, I mean, the case is really cool, actually. So this is the case, and you'll notice it's got this little magnet piece here. And so when you have the case that goes on it, it has that same magnetized piece. what gets lost in that, and let me pop it out of this case really quickly, is that it's actually a very pretty device to use without a case, because there's what it looks like, and it's got kind of a rough textured feel on the back of it. The problem is this camera bump. So you think it's a flush camera until you actually get to looking at it a little bit more, and it's just not flush. There's just a little extrusion here, which makes it do that wobble. So you don't get the benefit of this stopping it from moving all over whatever you're writing on, whatever your surface is, which is what I think this was kind of designed for, to help you with that. You don't get that because of the camera bump. And then I thought, well, if I put it in this silicone case that they give you, which is a pretty nice little case, if I put it in there, and I thought, well, you know what? I'll just put it in there and I'll leave it in there and I can put it down on the table and I'll be able to write on it. The problem is, and I don't know if the camera can catch this, but I'm going to try and get it as close as possible. There's still this little bump right here. So no matter what you put this in, it's going to wobble. There's no way to put it flat on the table and write in it. So it's not like leaving it in the case helps. It's not like leaving it out of the case helps. It's just a really weird way of doing it. And then if you leave it in the actual case itself, the larger case, so which is a beautiful package. I just want to say this is absolutely gorgeous and it's nice. And of course, you've got this exposed piece here. It does have the magnet, but the problem here is there's no place to put the pen. So even if you have the stylus, which actually weight wise is a nice stylus, and this is the InkSense Plus, it's a decent stylus. The problem is it's active, which I don't like. So you have your little charging port there for USB-C, and there's no place to put it. Now, believe it or not, and Kit showed this on his video earlier today, if I put it on the outside like this, it's not going anywhere. So I'm wondering if they don't expect you to carry it kind of like a little notebook with it stuck to the outside like this. The problem is the minute you go to put it in the bag, it's going to get lost. But as far as the shake test, that's not going anywhere stuck to this little clip on the outside. So if you were just carrying this around like this, you wouldn't have to worry about that pin falling off. And so to me, that makes it a little bit interesting, but it doesn't wirelessly charge. So connecting it to the device, you still have to remember to take it off and charge it. Um, what else do you all have that you are thinking about and want to talk about when it comes to this pen? So like I said, or to this package. So the Palma so far, really interesting, really cool. Love the packaging, but even like I said before, if you go to try to write with this, you've got the flap, which gets in the way, has nowhere to go, and there's nothing good to do with it. You're going to get this weird experience that you can't write with this flat, even in this case, even using this case. And you can't take it out of this case and write flat. And you can't take it out of this protective case and write flat. So from that standpoint, it still is that consumption device for reading that I think is the primary reason you would want to get this device, at least so far to me. Tell me if I'm missing something. I haven't lived with the device very long, just had it a little bit. I'll have much more in depth to say about it as we go along, but this is, I'm just surprised. That I like the device so much just from holding it. That I think is really cool, but also that I'm surprised they didn't just jump in and do a phone if they were going to do it this way. I think they could have eaten Big Me for lunch by doing that because it loses some utility for me anyway. And maybe there's something I'm missing as I use it more, as I try it out more. I think I'll find more utility and more reasons to want to use it. But right now, it's a nice to have. It's an excellent, I bet, companion device to the other books tablets. But is it something that you could find a standalone use case for, especially if you are looking to buy, very few or one only devices? That's my take. Parm also says, let's see here. Like it is a dedicated reader with the bonus of being able to reference my notes. Downfalls dedicated reader. I would not be able to see my notes from a larger device. Yeah, and I think the scaling is going to be an issue, and I would never use it as a note taker aside from a grocery list or quick notes. Yeah, and I think that's the question. Would you be able to use it? Because again, when it scales up, this is the output that you're going to get. It's gonna be huge unless you write really, really tiny. So I don't know that that's the best use case for it. But as a dedicated reader, then the question becomes, and maybe pardon you can weigh back in or anybody else who wants to jump into the chat here. As a dedicated reader, what are the real advantages to it over something larger like the Go 7? If you're not planning to notate or write on it, what are the advantages to buying something that's going to cost more, but that you aren't going to be able to, that you're not planning to take notes on? Is it just the portability factor? Is it just being able to put it in your pocket? Because there are other devices that are around that 7-inch format that you could use to reference your quick notes and all of those other components. The biggest thing uh, is that it's just not currently able to do that. And I don't know how to fix that specific thing. Um, let's see here. Can you demo it the other way? Can you show a note from a larger device? Yes, I can. I don't have the top down camera on here because this is mostly for live streaming and it's a little bit more of a setup process to go through OBS. So I'm trying out Riverside, but here's the note from the larger device. So I took these notes on the Note Air 5C and tried out some of the different pens and some of the different features. So you can see that text is pretty small. I can read it with my bifocals with no real problem, but it's very small. It moves down. Now you can, and I don't believe I have it enabled yet. Let me see if I can get auto rotate on here. So I'll turn on auto rotate and then let me jump back out. Oh, and it turned off my front light. So let me turn the front light back on if I can find it. Turn on my front light a little bit here so that we'll have a little bit of contrast for you to be able to see. All right. So we'll say, okay, we'll hop out of here. Let me get back to that note and I will show you what that looks like. So we'll pop out, we'll go back into notebook one, and then I'm going to flip this. So now if you turn it sideways like this, if you turn it into that landscape orientation, you're going to get a decent look to it. It's going to be legible. It's going to be able to be read, and it's going to be a little bit more of a pleasurable experience. But again, is that the main use case for it? Is that what you want to be able to do with this device? And I'm struggling a little bit with the idea of use cases. So, fire in some different comments in the chat and let me know, how do you see using it? Parm, you've been very clear. This would be a companion device, be able to quickly reference notes. And again, depending on what you use, your phone could be that as well. I mean, my Supernote notes with the desktop and the mobile apps, I can just pull out my Samsung Galaxy, open up the partner app, and I can see all of my notes straight on the Galaxy. With books, you can do some of that too. You can sync your notes to their desktop app. Now, some of the other things, books, annotations, some of the other pieces you have to download separately to see all of that, but it is still theoretically doable. So I'm just curious what other thoughts you have when it comes to that. Because again, there's a lot going on with this little device. And, I like the idea of it in a lot of ways. But the problem is, I'm going to have to figure out what my use case would be and when I would recommend it to someone. So, any other thoughts on that? Any other thoughts currently? Let me talk about the Note Air 5C for a minute. I actually really am enjoying this device. I like what they've done with the cover in some ways, and I'm finding some of the same frustrations I've seen others talk about. The other origami case was actually so much better for propping this up in landscape and portrait because it also had a crease on the back here, and basically you could tint it. On this one, you only have this side orientation. So when you fold it, it doesn't go exactly straight in either orientation. There's like a little bit of a gap that causes it to not sit flush. And that's kind of a miss to me. I don't know why books went that way. I think this cutout, very good, very smart. It's something people have been asking for. It makes it easier to charge the device. And I kind of get, even though I don't agree with, the idea of that flap. And I don't even know. Oh, yep, there it is. I don't use it. I take it off. Uh, it's not very functional. It doesn't work very well. The thing that's even more of a frustration point to me so far is the new stylus. I actually love this thing from a writing standpoint. It's better balanced than the other stylus. I don't think the other one was bad at all. I actually enjoyed the book styli, but this one is very well balanced. It feels, even though it's plastic, very premium. It would snap to the device very well if it wasn't for the fact that this hits those volume rockers. And I even thought about flipping it over and having it with the tip up, hoping that would help. And it didn't. It's still, even with that, the tip was still hitting the volume rocker, and which is also the page turn rocker. So you're getting pages, pages, pages added. And I think that's a real killer for this because otherwise, this writes extremely well. The control you get, the way it works, I just love it. I really do. I think it's so much fun, but it's just not working the way that I want it to do things. And what's really, even more interesting, if I can find it now, is the other book stylus. And let me pull, this is the regular stylus. But if I put this stylus onto the Note Air 5C, it's not going to go anywhere. So obviously, it's not the magnets that are the problem. It's the design and the engineering behind the pen. So definitely different. I don't understand why they went with the choices they did. Let's see here. Catch up on the chat real quick. So Parm says, I'm in the Books ecosystem. Their app is horrible. Most of my notes look blank in their app. Yeah, I did notice when going between the two today, Parm, that the issue is you have to close out on the device. And it still takes a minute. I love the Supernote the way it does it. I know everybody's not a fan of that, but to me, even with the conflict files included, I don't usually have to worry about data loss when it comes to notes, annotations, EPUBs, all of that, because it creates a local copy wherever it sends it. And that changes things up a bit. Um, let's see here. Oh, much better than I feared. So let me see what Jay's talking about there. So it says, so for me, I'll absolutely use the Pro as a note taker, especially next to a laptop or a larger device. Worried about writing, but hold on, but judging from Kit's demo, It's much better than I feared. Yeah, I mean, quite frankly, Jay, I think, and welcome to the stream, Jay, by the way. Uh, it doesn't write bad. It really doesn't. I was really concerned about it. I think the biggest thing is what do you do with the pen? And if you hadn't joined before, I was showing you the pen. There's no place to put it. And so you're gonna have to carry it somewhere else, and it doesn't charge wirelessly, so you're gonna have to remember to charge it. That may not be a deal breaker for some people, but what's even more interesting is when I put it on here on this little clip, this isn't gonna go anywhere. So if you're not putting this in a bag, and I mean, I shook this really hard before and it didn't wobble at all, didn't move at all. If you're not going to put this in a bag, it might be meant to be carried kind of like this, just in your hand, where you're not going to touch the pen. If that's the case, and this is your little jot pad, I could see that utility. The problem is it's very expensive for a little jot pad and it doesn't have phone connectivity. If it had phone connectivity, I think that changes the game on what this device is really for. And I think it kind of I don't know. I mean, I'm still struggling with it. Like I said, Melissa was like, "I don't get it." You know, people like us who don't have a lot of expendable income and are gonna be looking for a reader or for a companion device, or I mean, not a companion device, for something that they're gonna use as a primary device. Why would you not buy something that does a better job at the other things? And I don't know yet. I mean, it's very cool of Boox to send these out. Kit was spot on when he said they don't expect anything out of you. They don't, all they expect you to do is offer an honest opinion. They don't try to control your content in any way. They don't give you anything other than general information about the devices to help you make informed decisions, but they don't steer you. And I think them, Supernote, they have been great to work with for that reason. Um, and Parm asks, curious if there's any idea how long the battery on the stylus would last. I don't know. It took me a while. It came discharged, so I don't know how long it's going to last yet. I would assume quite a while. It's just the idea of if you get to the point and it needed to be charged and you didn't know, and you go to pull it out and it doesn't work, you have no backup option. And that's what has me concerned because you have no way of knowing other than going in and looking at the stylus in the screen to see where its charge is. So I don't know if it gives you some other kind of reminder. You know, again, I just got it today. It may give you an audible reminder. It may give you a notification saying your battery's under X% on your stylus. Please charge it. If it does that, that's great. The problem is, are you going to have it out and looking at it and recognize that? All great questions and things hopefully I can get answered. And like I said, the Note Air 5C so far, pretty impressed. I have the keyboard case hopefully coming tomorrow. I've got another package on the way from Boox, and that's the only thing that I'm waiting on is that. So we'll see what the keyboard case has to offer. Hopefully, it's better than what they had with the Note Max and more in line with what they had with the Tab Ultra C Pro. And I think if it is in line with that device, it could be a really good experience and something that would be really beneficial in making this the first device that I know of where Boox decided not to just create new things. And I think that's a big component of it. If anybody's a member on Discord, by the way, there's a link in there that I might be able to add you online with me. So if you want to click on that and try it out, we can try that. I just haven't, for some reason, it hasn't. I haven't tried that before on Riverside. Um, Jay says that would make you the first one with the keyboard case. I don't know. It depends if Kit's gotten it yet. I was laughing when I saw his videos this morning and yesterday that every single thing he's showing is right before I got it. So like the Palma 2, he had his video out and I received the device today. His Note Air 5C, he had his video out and I received the device the day of. So it's kind of funny. And then of course Jeff Moss was, I think, one of the first with the 5C, because he ordered it and got it delivered to him. Um, and I don't think he's going to do the keyboard case. But I mentioned specifically to Books that I think that's what's going to differentiate this tablet if they do it well. And so they said, "You're absolutely right. We're going to send one to you just to check it out." So hopefully that'll happen. But yeah, let me know if you can see. I'm going to try something here. Hope it's not letting me do it. Yeah, I was going to see if I could get this. I guess it would have to be somebody wanting to join the chat from the live stream or from the studio chat. But right now, I don't have anybody in there. But if you want to try that, let me know. I'd be happy to pop you up here. I can't stay on very long, but I'm staying on for a few more minutes. And let me know what other questions you have about the Note Air 5C. I think Kit made a good point when he said that Books seems to fix a lot of things that don't need fixing, and then sometimes break things that didn't need to be broken. This case is really a conundrum to me. The feel of it, the texture change, I think is huge and a step in the right direction. The cutout here was something people were asking for. Removing the ability to make it stand up perfectly straight and fold all the way around into those more comfortable positions, I don't get. I just don't. And I don't understand what could be causing them to change that part of it up. Why not just take the old case and make a cutout for the power port? That would have made more sense to me from an engineering standpoint. And I'm not an engineer, I mean, quite frankly, but I do think about the aesthetics and I think about, the choices made. And I'm just not sure why they made that particular choice. Um, Jay, it should be in the e chat on the Discord. I don't know how to show it here yet. I tried to do that, and I'll have to look into Riverside a little bit more and see if I can do that. Um, Let me try. Maybe I can drop it in the chat here. So let me see if I can drop it and press paste. See if you can click on it there in the chat, Jay, and we'll see if we can pull you up. I'm not sure if it'll work. It should work one of those two places, but I'd be curious to see how that works and whether or not we'll be able to hear you. Because I'd really like, and again, I can't stay on forever, but I'd really be interested, and I know you're probably thinking about it, what I sent about the Supernote earlier today, since they're talking about they're opening up the kernel on Android for developers. And yeah, Jay, okay, thanks for sending that to me in Discord. It looks like for some reason it's not letting you join. I don't know if you tried to join from Discord or whether you tried to join from the link in the chat, but we can maybe troubleshoot that offline. But I would be interested to know because there was a big announcement today, if anybody's not aware, from Supernote about kind of putting Linux development on the back burner. And they have been promising, not really well, yeah, they promised when they sent out the Nomad and the Manta that they were going to be dual boot platforms, that you were going to be able to boot into Linux and you were going to be able to boot into Android and have basically the platform of your choice. And they found out through testing, they were very transparent but delayed. So, I mean, again, they're running into that problem where they've talked and talked and talked, and in some ways talked themselves into a corner. And today they had to come out and say, listen, we tried. Here's all of the testing we did. We weren't able to get this to work. So we're, for right now, going all in Android and developing developer community access to be able to develop uh, and get me or correct me if I'm wrong on any of these terms, but SDKs and kernel access on Android to be able for developers to create plugins. So I think that bodes really well for where they're at and what they're developing. And they said Atelier was kind of proof of concept, and stickers, or actually, Atelier was the platform issue they were having with Linux. And then stickers was the first official plugin, at least if I remember right.
For
It's
where they're at
said it. So,
and
hey,
developing.
there's Jay.
And they said Atelier was kind of proof of concept.
Hello. Am I audible?
You are.
Oh, sweet. Okay, great. Yeah. So I guess this works really well.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Well, it's good to hear you, at least, my friend.
Yeah. I would. If I had known this was happening, I would have tried to see if I could set things up in here to be a little bit more friendlier to video streaming. But it's a mess in here right now. So, yeah. So about you were saying something about the Supernote with respect to what would you say it was? It was kernel development or something like that?
Yeah, I tagged it in the Discord, so I'll be interested to hearing more of what you have to say about it. But they're supposedly giving developers access to the Android kernel. And remember, I am not that guy. That is you, my friend, not me, that knows about this stuff. But they're giving access to that, and they are creating this plugin environment for SDKs to be able to basically not completely open source it, but be able to allow people to create for it. And they're kind of putting Linux on the back burner as a result.
Yep.
Because they said that the two systems were not working well together with the apps that would need to be shared between the two platforms.
Yeah,
And I don't
reading
know
this.
enough to know if that's smoke and mirrors or if that's the real deal.
No, I 100% believe them. Reading this, the thing about Qt and the thing about Flutter is very familiar to me because I tried adding Boox SDK support to two note-taking applications. One of them called Sabre, and the other one is called Linwood Butterfly. And so both of those use the Flutter SDK. So Flutter is like a library of tools for creating graphical user interfaces on Android. And it also comes with like a handwriting library that a lot of people use for various kinds of applications. And the problem that they say here about the refresh rate being very painfully slow, and the performance and efficiency on Android for Qt was just not anywhere as good as they were hoping. I had exactly the same experience.
Okay.
Flutter has an enormous amount of overhead, and on devices like these that are already underpowered compared to say like your sort of bog standard mid-range tablet, like a Samsung Galaxy S10 what is it plus or something like that. Those have so much more horsepower than your typical e-ink device does. So it's not surprising to me that they had this problem.
Well, that's good to know. I mean, I kind of, I've worked with them for a number of years as far as, just communicating. I mean, we don't work together formally. None of our stuff is actually formalized, but, I'm in their beta community. I'm in Boox's beta community. I'm kind of all over the place, giving people my thoughts, my opinions, unsolicited in a lot of cases, but I've tended to trust their communications. So they don't always communicate early enough, or sometimes too early, or as effective as they'd like, but they tend to be honest in those communications. And I was hoping that was the case here. And it kind of hit me this morning when someone asked the question again about Linux, and they said, okay, we're so sorry, but here's what happened.
Right.
And they laid it all out there.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I would also say, there is, this is the kind of thing that attracts somebody like me to a platform. So that the second part of this post is about, what we're doing is building out the plugin architecture and the software development kit. that's a very attractive feature. So Onyx kind of has that with their SDK, and most of that is basically around, can we build and design applications that use e-ink natively, so that you don't get the big lag that we normally see with any kind of not designed for the device application from Android, right? And so like this decision to work on and mature the plugin and software development kit, I think is probably going to pay off for them long term. Especially, one of the people that I can see really taking advantage of this is our friend Max Magina, who develops the Python library for Supernote, which is currently Python. And I could see him really taking advantage of that with this, and being able to do all kinds of really, really cool stuff with the platform. So yeah.
I agree, and I can't think of Philip's last name, but who does the Supernote plugin currently for Obsidian. One of the big things there is you have to pull your notes over, and then there's some stuff on the back end that happens to convert those to text. But I'm curious what, with this kind of open development, he could do to bring in the digest.
Yeah.
Because the digest has text and handwriting and, then the actual books and the links between all of that. I'd be curious if there's some way for a developer to have the Supernote be really kind of your hub in your Obsidian library, to where when that comes in, it's dispersed and then you can connect everything to it. Of course, that's me not being a developer. You joke about not being a professional. I'm very aware of my lane. I am an old retail guy and an academic now who knows a lot about instructional technologies, but almost zero about coding and developing. And my friends tell me all the time, Ed, those things you think are really easy are the hardest things to do, and the things that are really hard are sometimes the easiest things to do.
Yes. That's very true. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how people take advantage of it. I think there's a lot of possibility, and so there's another guy named Del Da Silva who has been working on an ink plugin for Obsidian for a while. And for everything that's not e-ink, that ironically, it works great, right? Like anything on LCD that doesn't have a lag, it works fantastic. Anything that does, have it struggles with. And on top of that, because of the fact that these are generally lower horsepower devices, because of the fact that the ink plugin uses web frameworks, which slows things down even more, as basically it's not able, you're sort of like asking the browser component of Obsidian, that sort of like, engine that renders HTML content, to do a bunch of stuff that really requires like a significantly faster CPU to be able to process. And so like you get things where it'll just leave out entire curves in the middle of a letter, right? And so it just never really worked right. So he's trying to see if he can accelerate that using the Onyx SDK. And I mean, I think with this kind of technology available from Supernote, I mean, given the already existing plugin architecture that you've got for Obsidian, I mean, that could really turn Supernote into an absolute Obsidian powerhouse. So
yeah, and I think they have so much already in common. That's the beauty of what I'm imagining. Is I was talking earlier about the sync, and they have some things they have to fix, but just the fact that you have local copies on every device,
yes,
is huge.
Oh yeah,
because that means when I go to click on a link within whatever document I'm in within the app on my device, it's going to find that copy.
Yep.
And that's just different. That's not how Boox operates, and that's not how, I think it's similar. I think Remarkable in some ways operates like that.
Kind of. It used to be better, I think. I've seen a lot of complaints about Remarkable's partner app lately, about it, not being as full featured as people have been hoping for. Especially after the handwriting recognition feature that they added, people are like, okay, great, now I can search for that on here, right? Nope. You can't do it.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be interesting to me. It's one of those things that you know I give a certain amount of grace to companies when they're transparent about when they fall down.
Oh yeah.
I Because we all fall down, we all have those challenges, and I think that out of some of the setbacks, the challenges, the outright failures is where you find some of the most innovative stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm hopeful that that's what's happening here. I give Boox a lot of credit for what I think they're trying to do with the Note Air 5C, quite
Mhm.
frankly.
Yep.
It's the first time they haven't just dumped a new device on us. Um, that didn't, I mean, I don't mean it that way. I know how it came across. But, to me, the 5C is if you were looking to replace your Tab Ultra C Pro,
Mhm.
it could be that device if the keyboard case is good enough.
Yes, that's exactly what I've been thinking about it. Like, I definitely agree with what you said about the keyboard case looking like it's much more similar to the Tab Ultra C Pro's keyboard case. The one problem with that keyboard case that I hope they fix is that once you put it on the device, the keyboard basically stays constantly connected as long as it's on there. And so, like, number one, it sips a little bit more power, which is kind of annoying. But number two, the buttons don't turn off when you fold the case behind the screen. So like,
Oh,
yeah. So like, and the thing is, other than that, those two big problems, the Tab Ultra C Pro's typing experience is fantastic. It's just like it's a really great, accessory for it. But so what I've taken to doing is just like taking a little piece of tissue paper and laying it between the contacts when I'm not using the keyboard itself. And then otherwise I just carry it around. But yeah, and the other thing that Voya pointed out with the Note Max's keyboard with the rubbing on the screen, it looks like they have added some features to stop that from happening with this version of the keyboard. So I'm very bullish on it. It looks to me like the design had a lot more thought put into it this time.
yeah, and I'm actually really interested in I or I'm glad, and some others have mentioned this. I can't remember who all. I think Kit might have mentioned it. They got rid of the trackpad,
Yes.
and trackpads on these ink devices or mice on these ink devices
Yep.
to me make no sense because
No.
it's not designed for that kind of responsiveness.
Yep.
And I'm not a keyboard shortcut guy. I'm really not.
Yeah.
But I think in this case, you need that.
Yep. Yeah. Absolutely. And uh, I mean, the thing already has two perfectly good pointing devices built into the screen, right? You've got the capacitive layer as well as the EMR layer. So
Mhm.
it never really, I don't think the trackpad ever really made any sense in the first place, except insofar as they were trying to bend the sort of like product design in a direction it didn't need to go, which is like, okay, we're going to make this a quote unquote laptop, right? It's not
Yeah.
a laptop. It's okay that it's not a laptop. Like, embrace it, which I think the omission of the trackpad has led them to do here, because what it lets you do now is you can still have this very good connection to the pogo pins in the back of the device, but you can also, because of the fact that you don't have to worry about the real estate taken up by the trackpad anymore, you can set the monitor on a bunch of different angles, right? Which is exactly what
Right.
you want. So yeah, I think the design makes way more sense this time.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, I'm not one for. I mean, I bought the quirky typewriter that I'm
Oh yeah.
still testing out for Bluetooth, and I love that thing because I like old school typewriters. But and the Manta is getting much better to type on. It's really working well.
Yes, they
Um,
really fixed that. I know it was a problem before, but I've seen demos since then. It looks like whatever they did in one of the betas, like, completely removed that lag.
Yeah, it's much better, and I think that that's gonna and they're adding the keyboard shortcuts in, making it much easier, uh, and now that they've added text to notes, I mean, it's changing up a bit. I don't traditionally type on these devices, but they're making it easier now to do that if you want to stay in that mode.
Yep.
And so I think it's gonna be pretty cool. But I've never really been interested in getting the Note Max keyboard. But now, I mean, if they fix it with something like this, who knows? It may be something where you can really be in that native state. But well, my friend, thank you so much for jumping on. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to hop off here because they'll be back with dinner here in a little bit.
All right, sounds good.
But thanks for testing this out with me too. I'm still in my trial period with this, but I'm liking this software more and more
Looks like it works
with
great.
what it's allowing me to be able to do with bringing people on like this. A little bit easier than what I've had to do in the past.
Hmm.
But also, it helps me a lot in the post-production process with identifying clips and stuff like that and backgrounds. But I appreciate you being the first one to try this out for me. And
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, did you do it through the chat or did you do it through Discord?
So the main problem that I was having is that apparently it doesn't support Firefox. So
Oh, okay.
I had to
That's good
open
to
it with,
know.
yeah, I had to open it with Chrome instead. Once I did that, it was fine.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good. That's good to know. And it sounds like the echo cancellation's good. I'm not hearing any kind of echo.
No, yeah.
It allows you to change your views around really quick. So
Yep.
yeah, this is great. And I'm interested now in pushing this thing even further and see what it
You
can
bet.
do.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to your material on Node Air 5C and on the Palma 2 Pro as well. So
I'm working on it, my friend. I'm just so backed up and have so many
get it.
things to do. Uh,
Yep.
as you know, I didn't start as a reviewer, so the reviewer space is new to me. So I'm
Yes.
trying to hurry up and get all of this stuff caught up so that I can get to a space and start really doing the in-depth stuff. But the
Yep.
unboxing should be coming out hopefully by this weekend for both the Node Air 5C and for the Palma 2 Pro. And
Awesome.
then I'll do longer term stuff on them as well. So,
Cool.
but thanks
I'll
again,
keep
and
my
thank
eyes
you for
peeled.
everybody who tuned in. If you're watching this on the replay, please like, subscribe, comment, continue the conversation down below. I think Jay can attest that I reply to every comment.
He does.
And I'm happy to do that. And until next time, everybody, you all keep moving forward, and we will talk to you soon.